green juice for the occasion as well.
Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to our live student event tonight. We're streaming live on Facebook and YouTube, joined by some very special guests from the Baptist Youth Student Committee. First up, we've got Lizzie.
Hey, everybody.
How are you, Lizzie?
Doing well. I'm very impressed by this setup, Matt. I'm enjoying StreamYard so far.
She's liking it. She's loving it. We've got Jack as well.
Hey, yeah.
How are you, Jack?
I'm all the better for seeing you, Matt. How are you?
Well, I'm all the better for seeing Sharon, who is our other guest. She's not a guest. She's our host. How are you, Sharon?
I'm doing really well. How are you, Matt?
I'm very good. What juice have you got there? You had some very impressive looking juice with you there.
I've got a little innocent smoothie. It's a super green one. I don't really know what's in it, but it looks like it's healthy. So.
And it is.
Is that the full bottle?
Green.
No.
And where's it from, Sharon? Is this just a homemade job?
Oh no, it's a Tesco's one.
A Tesco's one.
I'm not there yet.
Jack, just before you both jumped on, Jack and I were talking about, what's it called, Jack? The juice bar?
Juice bar. I think so.
The juice bar, is that what it's called?
Yeah, in Belfast. It looks really nice.
It's a good spot. It's a very good spot. That could be a top tip for all the students in Belfast. If you want to get some very healthy smoothies, head to the juice bar. But tonight is, as you might have gathered, all for students, particularly those who are heading to university. Currently, we have 20 viewers tuned in so far, which is great. I'm sure people will filter in as we come. Tonight's all for students heading to university. This is the Student Committee. We really exist to try and support students, primarily in Belfast, but this time of the year, as everyone heads off their different ways, we usually put on an event called Transition for those heading away to university. But obviously, this year's a little bit different in every way. And so what we're doing tonight is we're doing it online, and we're going to spend just about an hour, maybe a little bit longer, maybe a little bit less. We'll see how things go, thinking through how we can best be prepared to head to university, particularly as Christians, and particularly this year when things are all a little bit different. And so we're going to spend some time learning from God's Word. We're going to spend some time interviewing some current students, past students, and hopefully it'll be helpful in thinking through how to live for Christ Uni, represent them well, and navigate the challenging world of COVID. Why don't you guys tell us, Lizzie, Jack, Sharon, where did you go to uni? Are you at uni currently? Have you finished? Tell us a little bit about your uni experience. Sharon, let's start with you.
Okay, I went to Ulster University Belfast, which is the art college, not Jordanstown, as everybody always asks me. It is a separate campus. So I studied there for 4 years. I did a foundation year and then specialised in fine art painting, and it was an absolute blast.
Nice. Jack?
I go to Queen's. I study music. I'm in my second year. Or just finished my second year, going into third year. It's a wee 3-year holiday for me, so that's always good. You know, it is only music, nothing too difficult. But yes, Queen's good.
Jack, I meant to ask you this. So, is it true that you play in a band called Anna's Number from time to time?
From time to time, yes. From time to time.
I've got to say, I was in Belfast City Centre on Saturday, and I walked past them, and I stopped for a solid hour because I was wildly impressed.
They're very good. They're very good. I also play keyboard for a guy called Jordan Atunji. Look him up on Spotify.
How do you spell that now?
Jordan. The
With a J.
way. And then Adetunji. Adetunji.
Wow, what a name.
Great boy.
We will be sure to check him out on Spotify. And Lizzie, tell us about your uni experience.
Yeah, so like Jack, I also studied at Queen's University. I studied a very boring course compared to the others called microbiology for 4 years. I had a love-hate relationship with it and then graduated 2 years ago. And I work for an organisation called Christian Unions Ireland, which helps to support Christian Union societies in Belfast. So I get to work with the lovely UUB that Sharon mentioned, and also Jordanstown and Strumulus. And it is a joy to work with students and to continue working with you guys as you seek to share Jesus' name across campus.
Brilliant. We're going to hear more from Lizzie later on with regards to her work in CEI, and if you're going to be at any of those universities, this year, you'll probably be seeing a lot more Lizzie, and she's always there as a means of support for you all. If you thought microbiology was boring, I did maths, so I don't know, Lizzie, we could maybe have a bit of a contest. Maybe people could leave in the comments which one you think is more exciting, microbiology or maths. I would probably say microbiology, and Lizzie would probably say maths. But yes, we are going to have a number of different Q&As tonight. So do be active in the comments section. Whether you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube, we'd love to hear your comments. We'd love to hear your questions. And we'd love to hear your submissions to a number of questions that we'll be asking where prizes can be won. You're all saying, ooh, at home. So let me share with you some of the books that are on offer tonight, okay? Here's book number 1. This is Don't Waste Your Life by John Piper. This could be yours. Some lucky viewer will watch this tonight and have it posted, delivered to their door. This was a pretty foundational book for me at university. One of the first books that I probably read, actually. I wasn't a big reader at school, but I read this at uni, and it was really foundational for me. Spiritual Health Check, little book by Carl Lafferton, really helpful. The College Adventure Handbook. What more could you want to get ready for university than the College Adventure Handbook? Being a Servant of God by Warren Wiersbe, and The Songs of Jesus by Tim Keller. So there's maybe a good one for your devotional life at university. So these are all to be won. So let's go for the first. Let's try and find the first winner, okay? Might not find them now, but we'll hopefully find them soon. I've got a picture, okay, which I'm going to show. This picture is a picture of a person, but it's covered up in numerous ways. I'm going to ask one of our hosts to pick a number, okay, for one of the things we should remove from this picture. Let's see if I can get this up. Can you all see that? Can you guys see that okay?
Yeah.
Great. Okay, so this is a picture of a person, believe it or not, covered up by a number of shapes. Okay, so we've got to remove shapes, and it's the first person in the comments who can guess who the person is will be the first prize winner, okay? They might not get it yet. They might only get it later on in the evening, but we'll remove a few shapes now. Okay, so Lizzie, why don't you go first? Do you want to give us a number that we can remove?
Let's keep it hard at the start. We'll go for 19.
Number 19. Ooh, Lizzie, you're a hard taskmaster. Okay, right. It's going to take me about 5 seconds to actually remove 19. But any early guesses as to who you might think this famous person is? Jack, let's have a stab in the dark from Jack. Jack, what do you think?
A famous person?
Famous person.
Oh, let's go. Simon Cowell.
Simon Cowell, good guess. Sharon, you got any guesses? Early doors.
I'm gonna go with Elvis Presley.
Elvis Presley, good guess. There is the eye. Any of your guesses still active? Do you think? Could it be Simon Cowell?
I don't think so.
Jack. Could it be Elvis Presley? Not sure. Sharon, do you want to remove another one?
Let's go for 12.
Number 12 is to be removed. Okay, let me find number 12. Okay, interesting. Let's see if that makes a difference to anyone watching. Sharon, how's that just going?
It's going really well. I've nearly finished it.
Nearly finished it. Okay.
It's proper green. Look at that.
You're really not drinking that much of it, Sharon. Not a big glass.
You have to savor it. You don't want too much healthy stuff. It might be too much of a shock to my system.
He's just enjoying the process.
Mm.
Okay, here is number 12 removed. So you can see a little bit more there. You can see a little bit of the hairline. You can see the ear. Okay. We've had no guesses just yet. Any of you guys want to make a stab in the dark? Who you think it might be?
I have no idea. I was initially going to say Taylor Swift, but I definitely don't think it's Taylor Swift.
I'm guessing Paul Hollywood.
Paul Hollywood, that's a good guess. I can see that. A little bit of Paul Hollywood.
I feel like they look a little bit Northern Irish, not gonna lie.
They look a little bit Northern Irish?
Yeah, very tasty.
Yeah, that skin tone.
Pasty white. British at the very least.
Mhm.
Great. Well, we'll come back to that later on in the night, and we'll see if we've got any winners who can nab the prize. Well, they get the first choice of prize. Many more prizes to be won. Great. Tonight's all ultimately about trying to equip people to live for Jesus at university. As we think about that topic, do you guys want to tell us a little bit about university for your own experiences? What you thought was how university was for you spiritually? Was it a challenge? Was it a good thing, a positive thing, negative thing? Just tell us a little bit about your overall reflections on university as a Christian. Jack, maybe you want to kick us off as someone who's currently in university?
Yeah. I've absolutely loved uni. First of all, I've thought it's been brilliant, and the amount of opportunities that you get as a student is just as mad as everyone I think we can agree. It's just there's so much like you can get involved in. Course wise, spiritually it's been difficult, mainly just because there are very, very, very few Christians who actually do it. There'd be a wee group of about 4 of us who actually are Christians in my year. So just being able to stand up for your faith, it's difficult, but it's just so worth it. But I think it's also good that as much as it's good to have Christian friends in uni, getting into a Christian bubble, it can be brilliant, but also quite what's the word I'm looking for? It can be not very good because you're not actually reaching out to non-Christians. You don't really have that many non-Christian friends where you can build up a relationship with. So I see that as such a blessing from God that there are so many non-Christians surrounding me who I can chat to and build relationships with, and who have become some of my closest friends. Yeah, that's what I've sort of thought. CU's been brilliant as well. It's really good to get involved in that, and there's like home fellowship and small groups and all that sort of thing to get involved in.
Brilliant. Lizzie, what's your reflections as someone who has left uni now, been out for a few years, and also now still working with students?
Yeah, feeling very old now after graduating 2 years ago. But yeah, for me, university was probably the most formative time in my faith. I think for me, it was one of the first times I really understood the grace in the gospel and just the goodness of the gospel when you are at university and you're faced with so many different things that it just allows you to come back to the gospel and be like, this is class. This is the grace that we have is amazing. So that for university for me was a real time of understanding that and growing in that and meditating on what Christ has done for me. But also, like Jack said, I think sometimes we can get into our Christian bubble, and one thing I maybe regret is maybe not just joining other societies and meeting more people when I was at university. And even now I look back and like that would have been an amazing thing, even though I'm not very talented. I wish I was good at a sport or something. But yeah, I would just encourage you to get, like Jack said, get involved in different societies, make lots of different friends as well as Christian friends that you meet at university.
Brilliant. Really helpful. That's one I can definitely relate to. The what you both touched on was the Christian bubble and just the tendency just to get in your comfort zone and not see university for what it is, which is a massive mission field, and hopefully we'll maybe touch on that as well tonight. Sharon, what about you?
Yeah, a lot of the same. I mean, I absolutely loved my time at university. I came from a very small part of the country, and growing up I had no Christian friends really, maybe 1 or 2 towards the end of my time at school. But I was just really excited to have a real Christian community around me and be able to see all my friends on a regular basis and have that real regular fellowship with people. But it also is quite a turbulent time because it's your first time away from home. It's your first time kind of standing on your own 2 feet in that sense. And you really have to make a lot of foundational decisions at the start. And, getting in, yes, it's so important to get in with a good Christian crowd and, have really good influences and people that are going to build you up and help you. And that kind of balance. And then you can use that to witness to your non-Christian friends, and having that balance in the two is definitely something that's taken a while to get to. I think for art college especially, you meet a lot of different people, people with very, very strong views, and it was challenging in more ways than I ever thought it would be to have conversations with people and and try and witness to them through that. I was faced with a lot of not kind of. I never had a conversation with anybody where they were very like angry or kind of not nice about different things, but people were very interested in your opinion and interested because what we believe is contrary to what society believes. So it's just making the most of those opportunities and being prepared for that too. You know, read up on what you believe and why you believe it before you go into these situations or before you kind of enter into these conversations, because you'll feel less kind of gobsmacked by it, I guess. So
Yeah.
that definitely.
Brilliant. Those are some really helpful reflections. And just to say, these guys will be on all night. So if you do have any questions, maybe something that they say sparks a question in your mind, or you've just maybe got another question that's totally left field, feel free to stick it in the chat and we'll get them to answer them. I'm going to ask them in a moment about their funniest memory from university. Okay. So for Lizzie and Sharon, that might be a little bit longer ago. For Jack, it might be more recent. But we do have our first guess from a viewer as to who the picture might be of. And it's from Jack McFerrin, whose guess is Eminem. So is it Eminem? Is there a big prize to be won for Jack McFerrin? Can confirm the answer is no, it's not Eminem. So let's go back to the picture and we'll take a few more items off and see if we can determine who it might be. Who has not removed an item? Jack,
I have not.
hook us up. Some of them reveal much, some of them reveal little.
Let's go 8.
Number 8. Okay, the wee yellow fella there.
Wee yellow boy.
Okay, we'll move 2 at a time, sure. Back to Lizzie. Were you first, Lizzie?
Yeah, let's go for 11.
11. Okay. Oh, this is big. This is big. 8 and 11. Any more thoughts as you've stared out a little bit longer?
Very nice eyes.
Very nice eyes, yes.
Very blue.
Nice skin. What sort of age do you think this individual might be?
I'm going to say mid-50s to early 60s.
Mid-50s to early 60s. Maybe I could maybe give away the age. That might be fair dues. Okay, so here's the updated picture. Oh, it's getting close now. It's getting close now. Let me see. Let me just actually check what age this individual. Yeah. Hey, that's a very good guess from Sharon Cannon. I can confirm that she is right. Oh, we've got another guess. This one comes from Olivia Mallon. Her guess is Pierce Brosnan. It's a good guess, but it's not quite right. Not quite right. Not quite Pierce Brosnan. Keep them coming. We've got another guess. This one comes from Caleb Logan. His guess is Eamon Holmes. Is Caleb the winner of tonight's big quiz? I can confirm Caleb Logan is right. The answer is, in fact, Eamon Holmes.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Caleb. You are our champion tonight. So, Caleb, you've got... Oh, Cal McGuigan's come in with Eamon Holmes as well. Sorry, Cal. You got the right answer, but you're just too late. Caleb pipped you to it. So, Caleb, you've got the choice of Tim Keller's Songs of Jesus devotional book, Warren Wearsbury, Being a Servant of God, The College Handbook, Spiritual Health Check by Carl Lafferton, or Don't Waste Your Life by John Piper. So, Caleb, drop us a little comment which one you would like, and we will get it delivered to your door. Many congratulations. We'll save the next one for a little bit later on. The next prize. But guys, coming back to your favorite memory or your funniest memory. Look at Matthew Keys is a big Piper fan. That's what he would pick. Matthew, unfortunately, you did not win, so you have no say right now. But if you stay around Matthew Keys, you might win the Piper book as long as Caleb doesn't put you to it. Funniest memory. Sharon, I'm going to start with you.
Oh no. Let me see. Funniest or weirdest? I've got 2.
You're good at telling us weird things, so maybe the weirdest would be a good one to start.
Okay, so our college is a strange place, and that's full of strange people. Most of them are lecturers. And in my first year of uni, I was doing foundation year, and the person who was my lecturer was an interesting woman who looked like, I don't know if anybody's ever seen the film Hocus Pocus, but she looked like the fat witch from Hocus Pocus. Like, I mean, they could be twins. And she wore only black, but with really colorful tights all the time. So she would have been wearing like this black dress with a black jacket and yellow tights and then like biker boots. She was an interesting lady. And I was not very good at textile sort of stuff, but in my textiles workshop, I had made all this like really nice jewelry. And the thing was that you had to pick a shape and then you had to make something in relation to the shape. So I had picked an arrowhead and had made all these like little wire arrowhead earrings, necklaces and stuff like this. This was all very pretty and I was really proud of it. I was really bad at this sort of workshop. And this lecture was my feedback just before my mark, told me that it was a bit too pretty and I should think more along the lines of kind of what's in the environment and using things in the environment. And she had an English accent as well. And this is a direct quote. My favorite student who ever did this workshop had a really great idea. They went around the old building and collected dead flies and put them in jars and made an installation of dead flies and wasps and put them into jars. So she is encouraging me to make jewelry out of dead insects instead of nice arrowhead jewelry. So I was completely freaked out by that, as most people would be. And like that was a really weird instance. And for context, like we did life drawing in our first week of uni. So I was genuinely thought that I was prepared for most things, but that one really did take me off guard. And then that was a course that was joint with another lecturer, and she came in the next day and I told her what happened and she was like, don't listen to her! Ah! And then had to go and have words with her because she was telling students to go around and collect dead flies.
Art college.
One of my top tips there, one of my top tips.
Brilliant. So if you're going to art college, be prepared for dead flies.
Yeah.
You've just terrified anyone who's going to art college now, Sharon. Lizzie, Jack, any of you guys got any funny stories for us?
Oh, Jack, I literally have nothing. Like, all I could think of is like it's probably not even that great. I loved. We had a great house we lived in for my 3rd and 4th year of university, and like the only thing that I can think of is that my friend Luke Stewart, for anyone that knows him, we had bought the house together and like he had moved in, so he knew the address, but he got us this lovely cake for like welcoming it. But he got the address wrong. And I was like, look, how do you get this address wrong for the cake? That's probably a rubbish story compared to Sharon, but I just can't think. The whole of university was a lovely memory. that could be mine.
Jack, what about you?
Again, like Lizzie, we've got some good stuff in the house. One of my housemates, Adam Barr, came home with a mannequin would you get in the shop, but you put the clothes on and everything. He came home with one of them. He found in a skip beside Primark. So we took one of those, and what we do is like, while Andy Gray, who also lives in my house, is like sleeping, we put it in his room or like beside him in bed, so like he'd turn over and be a mannequin beside him or something like that. So it was good fun. But also, like Sharon, I do an arts degree, so literally everything about it is strange. We have concerts every Thursday that we have to go to, and I honestly don't know where to get the people from, but they're the weirdest things ever. So we had a girl came in, and we were told she was going to play bassoon, and she did play the bassoon, but she was dressed in a teddy bear onesie, so that was one. We had a guy play the Hoover for an hour, 10 minutes. They had these like pipes, and like the Hoover was going. We had a girl smack the piano while violently screaming the word clay and moth. That was one. I have a good. There's a good. Oh, there was a woman dressed as a police officer rolling about the floor. That was one. That was a good one. I really enjoyed that one. Yeah, arts degrees. I'm telling you.
So much more fun than my degree. Literally, I had none of this. The most exciting thing that happened to us was the lecturer like whacked the table one time to try and keep us awake. That was literally it. So much
Oh,
better than
we were told to. We had a guy playing accordion, and for 40 minutes of it, he danced and told us to imagine a rectangle but make it cute. And he told us this in like his German accent. That was good. I like that one.
Love that. So I had a friend who did a music degree, Jack, and they did have a very weird module. I can't remember what it was called. It was something like abstract music or something.
Mm-hmm.
And she got us involved for a piece of coursework, and we all just literally had to make a random noise, and she would put it together. And this was like meant to be apparently beautiful. This was apparently beautiful, but it was abstract.
We had one of our lecturers from Cork came in with a bag of rocks, and we had to, the class hit the rocks together, just feeling the environmental pulses in the air, and like just hit them together. And she walked around the room for half an hour, just like this, just like, yeah, that's really nice, like that, for half an hour. It was great.
Beautiful.
We had Thursdays were our lecture day where we had visiting lectures. So it basically meant that for an hour every Thursday we had something like that happened. Every Thursday for 4 years.
Glorious. My funniest memory was probably it was the night after Halloween, I think, and one of the guys came in. So my degree is quite serious, right? So there's none of this stuff that goes on in your degrees. It was quite serious. It's quite stern. And this guy came in, and he usually had pretty long hair, but he came in and his hair was like literally standing about a foot tall because the night before he was on a night out and he'd super glued it up because he was, I don't know what he was dressed up as, but he actually used super glue and he literally just couldn't get it down again. So he came in with like the hair literally, and I just was just dying the whole class. It was good. I'll forever have the memory ingrained in my mind. But Caleb has chosen the book that he will take, and he is taking this one, the College Adventure Handbook. So this book is now off the market. So Matthew Keys, you might be glad to know that John Piper's book is still available. So do stay tuned, and that could be yours. Great. I'm going to stick these lovely hosts into the waiting room, and we're going to have a little look at God's Word for a few moments, and then we're going to hear from them again later on. So thank you, guys. See you again shortly. Wait, Matthew Keys is a funny story. Matthew Keys, you hold it. You hold that funny story. We will hear from you later on. See you guys a little bit later. Okay, great. If you have a Bible, I'd love you to turn with me to the book of Matthew. I should say, by the way, we did look up. I did tell you that was Eamon Holmes. I probably should just prove to you that was Eamon Holmes. Here's a little picture of him, just so your conscience is clear that really is Eamon Holmes. If you've got a Bible, I'd love you to turn to Matthew. Smooth transition there from Eamon Holmes to Matthew. Matthew chapter 5. Matthew chapter 5. I'm going to read from verse 15 or verse 13 to verse 16 of Matthew chapter 5. If you want to turn there, that'll be most helpful. I'll actually get the passage and bring it up on the screen here as well. Matthew chapter 5, verse 13 to 16, which says this. It says, "You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has lost its taste, how shall its saltiness be restored? It is no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled under people's feet. You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden, nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to all in the house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so that they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who is in heaven." That is Matthew chapter 5, verse 13 through to 16. I don't know what you have been like over this lockdown period. I'm sure many of you have been totally binging on many different TV shows. I'm pretty sure many of you will have watched pretty much everything that Netflix and Amazon Prime has to offer at the moment. But if you're anything like me, one of the shows you have been watching, I'm kind of loving, it's not really a show, it's actually really a musical, is Hamilton. Hamilton. It's on Disney Plus, I think, and I'm sure many of you have seen it. Pretty long, but the storyline's good. But for me, it's all about the soundtrack to Hamilton. I've been blasting it in the car ever since. Absolutely brilliant soundtrack. But Hamilton, if you're not familiar with the storyline, it's pretty much all about this guy called Alexander Hamilton. Surprise, surprise. One of the founding fathers of America. It talks all about America's kind of separation or independence from Great Britain. It's a really, really good musical. So I'd encourage you to watch it. But as you listen to all the songs on the Hamilton playlist, and you listen to the lyrics, and you kind of listen to the thrust of the storyline, one of the reasons it's so popular is because the songs kind of remind us of our desire, all of our desires to change the world. That's one of the reasons this musical has been so successful. We kind of resonate as humans with this desire to change the world, to make it a better place, or at least to make our world a better place. We all want to make a difference. And so here in the story of a guy called Alexander Hamilton, someone who came from pretty poor beginnings, he was an orphan, seeing someone like him change the world, make a difference in the world, it's pretty inspiring. And the truth is that all of us have this inner desire to change the world. You want your life to count. Particularly now as you go to university, you're leaving school, you're starting this journey of making it on your own, you are filled with ambition and excitement. You want to change the world. You want to make it a better place. You want to make your mark on this world, don't you? And in these next 10 minutes, I want to tell you exactly how you can actually change the world. I'm going to share with you what exactly actually you need in order to be the biggest and best influence in this world that you could possibly be. And as you hear me say that, you're probably looking at me and saying, who on earth are you to tell me how to change the world? You're not exactly qualified to tell me how to change the world. And you're absolutely right. I'm not at all qualified to tell you how to change the world. But God is qualified to tell you how to change the world. And he's the one who's speaking in this passage, who tells you about how you really can make your life count. Jesus Christ is going to tell us how to make our lives count. And he is the single most influential person ever to have walked this planet. As he gives this teaching on the Sermon on the Mount, he's standing in front of these large groups of people, and he's talking to them in the Sermon on the Mount about what his kingdom looks like and what it really looks like to be a part of his kingdom. And so let me just bring up on the screen once again this passage so that you can have it in front of you if you don't have a Bible. It says, "You are the salt of the earth, but if the salt has lost its taste, how shall its saltiness be restored? It's no longer good for anything except to be thrown out and trampled under people's feet. You're the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden, nor do people light a lamp and put it under a basket, but on a stand, and it gives light to the whole house. In the same way, let your light shine before others, so they may see your good works and give glory to your Father who's in heaven." So you want to change the world? Want to make a difference in the world? Want to be of use when you're now venturing into this world of freedom at university? Well, here are two things Jesus says you ought to do, Christian. Firstly, he says, be salt. Secondly, he says, be light. Firstly, be salt. Secondly, be light. So firstly, he says, verse 13, be salt. Now, if I was to describe someone as salty, you probably wouldn't think of something very positive. Sure, you wouldn't. It usually means to describe someone as salty, something negative. In our everyday language, it kind of means that someone's pretty bitter. So I could say right now that the Man United fans are very salty after last night's result. Usually the idea of being salty isn't very positive. However, here Jesus does use that phrase to be salty in actually a more positive way. Here we're actually encouraged as Christians to be salty. And so the obvious question is, what on earth does Jesus mean when he says that we're to be salty Christians? And there are number of ways you can kind of look at that command, isn't there? On the one hand, salt's used to preserve food. And so when food was going off, you put a little bit of salt on it, and that would kind of stop the decaying process of the food. And so in one sense, you could argue that's what Jesus is saying here. He's saying this world is decaying, this world is going bad, morals are slipping, things are decaying into chaos. And the worse it gets, the more corrupt it gets. You are to be the salt of the earth. You're to decrease the rate of decay. You're to preserve this world and uphold Christian ethics in this decaying, decreasing world. You could argue that's what this passage is trying to say. I don't think that fully conjures up the idea completely. And the reason is, Jesus here speaks of being salty with regards to its taste. I don't know how you like your chips, but if you're like me, you like those bad boys just covered in salt, because salt adds flavor, doesn't it? It adds serious flavor. Food has a distinct taste when salt is added. And that really is the idea that we're to conjure up as Christians. We're to add flavor to this world. We're actually to be distinct. We're to stand out. And notice that he doesn't just command us to be salt. He actually says, if you are a Christian, you already are salt. As a Christian, you already are salt. You already are distinct. You just are. To follow Christ automatically makes you, to use Jesus' language, salty. And so the warning here is more, don't water down this saltiness. How might you do that? Well, not just by adding a dash of salt to your life, but maybe adding a dash of other things to your life. You might think as you go to university, well, I'm going to university at the end of the day, so I'll need to add a dash of, sexual promiscuity. I'm going to need to make friends, aren't I? So I'm going to need to kind of compromise my language a bit. So I'll kind of add a dash of immoral language. And all of a sudden we start diluting the saltiness of our Christianity, the distinctness of our Christianity. We lose, as Jesus says, we lose our saltiness. And at this point, notice the harsh words of Jesus. He says, if you lose your saltiness, effectively, you're no good for anything. You'll just be like everyone else. In other words, do you want to change the world? Do you want to make a difference in the world? Do you want to be useful as you go to university? Here's the surefire way not to change the world, and it's to just be like everyone else. Here's the surefire way not to change the world, not to make a difference. It's just to go with the flow. It's interesting as you look at the Bible's own use of the word salt. Quite often when it's quoted, it's used with relation to judgment and conviction. So you might remember in the Bible, for example, in Genesis 19, where Lot's wife was turned into a pillar of salt. Or you might remember passages in the Old Testament where, for example, the Old Testament sacrifices were seasoned with salt. So when we think about salt, there's a bit of a bite to it as well, isn't there? So to me to live as salt doesn't just mean that I go around being a super nice person who everyone loves and is just kind of seen as nice and meek and mild. When Jesus says you are salt, you're distinct, but it almost has a bit of a bite to it. Not in a rude way, not in an intentionally offensive way, but as Christians, we have salt. We have backbone. We have salt. We are salty people. We say in love. We're able to say in love, no, I don't agree with that. We're able to speak boldly about the hope that we have. We don't compromise conviction for the sake of people pleasing. And so this idea of being salty is tough. But Jesus says, you want to make a difference in the world? You want to be distinct? You need to be filled with salt. You need to be different. But he doesn't just say be salt. Notice what he says secondly. He says also be light. Be light. We're not just to be salty, but we're to be light. Look what he says in verse 14. You are the light of the world. Of course, what's interesting about this description is that we know, don't we, that Jesus is actually the light of the world. Yet here Jesus points to his followers and says, you are the light of the world. And you might ask, well, which one is it? Is Jesus the light of the world, or are we the light of the world? And the answer is kind of yes, isn't it? Both aren't. Jesus is the ultimate light of the world, but we as his followers, called Christians, which literally means little Christs, we are these little beams of reflection of Christ's light to those around us. We as little Christians reflect the true light, Jesus Christ, to others around us. And so where is this light most useful? Well, the answer always is dark places, isn't it? It's in the dark places that the light of Christ shines the brightest. And so what is Jesus saying here? He's not just saying be distinct in that you're to be salt, but he also says you're to be visible in that you're to be light. You're to be visible. And so what does that mean for you as a Christian as you go to university? It means this, that Christians aren't just to be the ones who totally shut themselves off. As you go to university, one of the worst things you can do is just kind of think, as Jack and Lizzie were touching on earlier, okay, I need to find my little Christian bubble and just lock myself in. That's what I need to do. That would be a total misunderstanding, wouldn't it, of what Jesus is saying here about what it means to be salt in the world. Jesus says you're to be distinct, but you're also to be visible. You're to be my light. And so you need to shine that light in even the darkest of places. You need to find the parts of this broken world where the light is most needed. And so what that means for you going to university is that you find a good church, absolutely, that you can get plugged into, that you get plugged in to see you, absolutely. But you might also think to yourself, well, this also applies to me in that I maybe need to get plugged into the rowing team, or I need to get plugged into the rugby team, or I need to get plugged into the mathletes club. Thought I would be inclusive there and include the mathletes. And so there's a challenge for us as we think about going to university. Don't just get plugged into the good Christian things, but also think, where can I be a witness? Where can I be a light? Where are the so-called dark places where I can intentionally be a Christian? Of course, there may be some places where you feel that your witness may be compromised. But for every one of those, there are 100 other places, 100 other societies or clubs that you might want to join, or friends that you might want to meet up with, where you can live out your distinct Christian life and be a visible, prominent Christian and influence there. You know, for some reason in church, I don't know if it's a Northern Irish thing, But we kind of have this very defensive mindset, don't we, when we send our students to uni? We kind of send them off to uni and we just kind of pray that they don't go bad. Please don't let them go bad. Please don't let them go bad. And we so often neglect the massive opportunity that university actually is, the massive mission field that university is. And so as you go to university, be salt, but be light, be visible. Be invested in the lives of non-Christians and recognize the massive influence you have for the gospel. There's probably never going to be a time in your life where you rub shoulders with so many different types of people, where you meet different types of people who are also at a stage of life where they're trying to discover what the world is all about, what their life's all about, what their purpose is all about. And so there's a challenge from Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount to make the most of the opportunities that he will give you at university as you aim to be salt and as you aim to be light. And as you do that, the Bible really promises, and this passage really promises, that one of two things will happen. The first thing that might happen, you'd see earlier in verse 12, is that you will be persecuted. You'll be persecuted. You will receive flack. Now, that probably doesn't mean that you'll be physically harmed at your university. Maybe it will, hopefully not. But you will be slandered. You'll be left out of stuff. You might be seen as the odd one. That will happen, wouldn't it, if we are salt and light? But whilst that will happen, the promise that we're also given in verse 16 is that we will win some. We might be ostracized from many, but we will win some. As Rico Tice puts in his great little book, Honest Evangelism, as you live out the gospel, one of two things will happen. One will be hostility from some, but the other will be hunger from others. And so what a challenge as we live as salt and light. Yes, it leads to hostility from some, but hunger to others. There will be opportunities for the gospel to go forward and people to enter the kingdom of God. I just want to share a quick little story with you as I close this thought. But I remember talking to a guy once who shared with me his first time going to university, and he just joined the rugby team. And as he joined the rugby team, they were going to their first match. Their match was away to a different place, and they had to go on this bus journey for about 20 minutes, 30 minutes. And as they were on this bus journey, the captain of the rugby team stood up at the front of the bus, grabbed the microphone, and he said, "Okay, I want all the freshers to come up to the front of the bus, and I want them to tell us just their wildest sexual experience." And one by one, all the freshers went up to the front of the bus, and they shared these really crude stories about things that they've been doing. And this guy was a Christian, and he's obviously sitting in the bus, and he's thinking, "Oh my goodness, I'm going to have to go to the front of this bus. And I'm a Christian. I've nothing to say." And so finally, all the other freshers had been, and it was his turn to go to the front of the bus. And so he kind of walked to the front of the bus, stomach churning, heart pounding, and he just took the microphone and said, "Listen, guys, I'm a Christian, and so I don't engage in these things. I try to live for God and follow his the life that he tells me to live in the Bible." And he said everyone just laughed. Everyone erupted into laughter. He walked back to his seat, feeling kind of ashamed. People poking him, teasing him, and he said he got off the bus. And as he got off the bus, the captain of the rugby team put his arm around his shoulder and said, "Really appreciate what you did in there. It took a lot of courage." They got chatting, and the captain of the rugby team actually offered to go to church with him that Sunday. And as he went to church with him that Sunday, heard the gospel for the first time, ultimately gave his life to Christ. And that was just a great example of this one guy who took this bold step of standing for Jesus, the first hurdle at university, faced real hostility from many, but actually in the hostility, it led to hunger from others. He chose to be salt, he chose to be light, and in that God worked, God moved, and ultimately brought some to come to a saving faith in him. Now, we're not going to have a lot of stories like that, perhaps in our own experience, but we trust in God's sovereignty. We know that God can do amazing things through those who live for him. And so there's a challenge as we think to go to university, to be salt and light, to live faithfully for God, and to leave the rest of the results up to him. Great. Thank you for tuning into that little part. I've got some special guests with me in the waiting room who I'm going to invite on now. These are folks who are currently students at uni. So I've got Peter and I've got Rebecca. Hi guys, how are you doing?
Hi.
Hello. How are we doing? Mm-hmm.
Where are we currently situated? Are we streaming live? Rebecca, are you live from Ballymena?
Yes, live from Ballymena. I am.
Live from Ballymena. Brilliant. Peter, where are you live from?
Live from Ballymoney.
Live from Ballymoney. So there's a very northern feel to this. This stream. Really good to have you guys on. Just want to take a few moments to kind of pick your brains. You are both at university, and wanted to kind of catch up with some of you guys and see some of your reflections on what advice you might give to those who are heading to university this September, particularly those who are Christians. Firstly, why don't you just tell us a little bit about where it is you actually go to university and what you're studying? Peter, why don't you kick us off?
Yeah, so at the minute I'm in Scotland, in St Andrews, which is like an hour above Edinburgh. It's kind of in the middle of nowhere, but it's nice. And I'm studying medicine, and I'm going into my 3rd year. So, yeah.
Brilliant. What about you, Rebecca?
I'm currently studying social work at Queen's in Belfast. So I'm going into 2nd year.
Very good. So, Peter, what year did you say you're in?
I'm going into 3rd year.
You're in a 3rd year. So, for you, it'd been a few years ago when you started uni. Rebecca, for you, it was just this time last year.
Yeah.
What do you remember about heading to uni for the first time as a Christian? What were some of your perceptions? What were some of the things you may be nervous about? What was going through your mind, Rebecca? Why don't you kick us off with that one?
I just remember when I started uni, I was absolutely thrown in at the deep end. I just didn't have a clue. I was going straight from school, and my course is like a lot of older people. So as I said, I do social work, and it was a lot of mums, and I didn't really have anything in common with them. So at the start, I felt a range of emotions because I didn't know what to expect. I was totally unknown of what was ahead of me. And I just wondered, like, if I would meet the right people who'd encourage me in my walk with God. Because I left Balmain Academy, which is an entire bubble of Christians, and it's quite easy to be a Christian. And going to uni, it would be more difficult. So yeah, this start, it was a whirlwind, I would say, as I tried to settle.
Good. And we'll find out some of the things maybe you learnt as you went along in a few moments. Peter, what about you? As you remember thinking about starting university, for you it was a little bit different because you were going overseas. And what were some of the things going through your mind?
I suppose like one of the biggest ones in comparison to like most of the people in my year was like if I wanted to come home for a weekend, that wasn't an option. So like I was stuck there regardless of what was happening. And that was nice in a way. I liked the fact that, you know, I was far away from just like my past life. But it was also quite scary. Like moving into halls and very quickly seeing and smelling that I was surrounded by druggies and all these kind of other weird things going on that at the time scared me a little bit. But it was also very exciting because it was the first time in my life that like I had the chance to stand on my own 2 feet, make my own decisions about what's going on. So yeah, it was a mixture of being scared and a mixture of massive excitement.
Brilliant. And as you think about your kind of time at university, maybe in a few moments you could just share a little bit about what's kind of been your biggest learning curve. Just before that, let me just say to people watching, if you do have any questions, maybe specifically from some of the things that they touch on, do pop them in the chat. I'm sure they wouldn't mind answering them. But Rebecca, what about you? As you think about your heading to university, maybe in comparison to what you were fearful of, what you're anxious about, what are maybe some of the big things you've learned as a Christian?
Probably one of the biggest things I've learned this year is learning to adapt in the minority, because when you go to uni and you're in a course surrounded by people from so many different backgrounds, you are entirely in the minority. And in my year, there was only one other girl who was a Christian. And the way my classes worked out, I never really fell in with her or anything. Like I never was in that much contact with her. But realistically, when I look back and I see how I did learn to adapt in the minority, it was challenging, but it was also great because I sat with girls who I probably would never have associated myself with before. And doing the course I do, it brought me with people from different backgrounds and different so many diverse opinions, and these were constantly being thrown at me all the time. And it was learning to stand on my own 2 feet as I tried to share the gospel with them. And they never held back in the questions that they asked me in uni. Like, they were just straight to the point. And it was thinking, oh, well, actually, why do I believe the things I believe? And not just saying them because I knew I was meant to. It actually made me realize, well, why do I believe the things that I say I believe? So yeah, learning to adapt in the minority was probably the biggest learning curve, and also learning to live independently, like taking away all the props of the comforts of my own home, and even the comforts of knowing people really well, because you went and you didn't really, you knew people, but you really had to make an effort in how you interacted with other people. So yeah, that's probably
Brilliant.
a big curve.
You touched upon there about like sharing your faith with different people in the class and things like that. How did you find their response to that? Were people more open than you thought they were, or were people more hostile than you thought you were? Was there a bit of a mix? What's your kind of
It was probably a mix, and particularly when I was in smaller groups, when I was in my tutorials, because social work, there's a lot goes on about gay marriage and abortion and all of that constantly, and it's very much a very liberal environment, and so I suppose sometimes it was more taken more hostility. What's the word? With hostility, yeah. But other people would have been more open. But it was hard because you knew that you had to say things, but at the same time you didn't want to be like not associated with either. So it was like learning to take the stand. Oh, well, actually, I don't agree with this, or I do agree with that, because and being willing to be in the minority.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. But at most, the girls that I've been friends with, they took it quite well, and they just like accepted me for that, and then they maybe like talking about their weekends or coming in on Mondays and saying what they'd done at the weekend, and then they were always like, "Oh, we know Rebecca wasn't doing that because," and it was kind of like a joke, but like not a joke.
Joke with a jab.
Joke with it, all the time.
Yeah, brilliant. Peter, what about you? As you reflect, what are some of the learning curves been for you?
Yeah, I think it like really falls in line with that kind of like increased difficulty in sharing your faith, because you go back to square one with having to make friendships, and so it takes a while before you can. I think in most relationships you can't just start it off by saying, "So what do you know about Jesus?" There has to be something there, else they're just going to be scared off to start off with. So you just have to put in time getting to know others. And also the massive surprise that it's a very Northern Irish thing that everyone goes to Sunday school. That's not a worldwide thing. And so when you sometimes have conversations with people, they're like, they have no starting base knowledge for like what we believe in. So you're even having to explain like the real basics of what Christianity is, which is a blessing, and it's also a bit of a wake up call, because when you're sitting there struggling to explain like really basic things about Jesus, you're like, oh, maybe I should know that a bit better in my head before I start talking to someone. But yeah, definitely along the same lines of sharing your faith and being in that kind of minority in a very secular environment was probably the biggest learning curve.
Brilliant. Yeah, definitely relate to what you said there. I remember at uni bumping into like getting engaged in a chat with Jehovah's Witnesses, and all of a sudden you're trying to actually defend like the most basic biblical concepts like the Trinity, and I was kind of going, hold on a second, I can't even really defend the Trinity.
Yeah, I remember that there's these like Mormon guys, and me and another friend like met up with them, I don't know how many times, but it was like that first bit, they're like, well, the Trinity's not real, and you're like, yeah, it is. And they're like, prove it, and you're like, oh. So yeah, wee things like that.
Peter, tell us about. I know I heard a little bit about some of the stuff you were doing at the Toasty Bar. Do you want to share a little bit about that and maybe some of the good news stories there?
Yeah, so Toasty Bar it's a pretty unique thing to St Andrews. I don't think they have it anywhere else, but it's basically a ministry, student-run ministry. It's now kind of a subsection of the CU. But what it does is it seeks to provide people with a safe environment on a night out where they can come and sit, have a toasty, and if they want to, have a conversation with one of our volunteers about God. And this runs every Friday. I'm not on the committee anymore. That was me first year. But on a usual night, pre-COVID and hopefully post-COVID, we would have sold like 600 to 800 toasties per week or like per night. So if you think about that, most people coming in through the doors, you probably have like one toasty per person, and in every group there's always going to be those people that don't. So we'll have at least like over 1,000 people coming through our doors every single Friday evening in a normal term. And it's just such an amazing opportunity where they come in, they buy a toasty for 50p, any fillings they want, and they sit down, and we'll have volunteers whose job it is literally just to sit there and just get to know people. Someone like people might come in like absolutely plastered and just like talk the like biggest pile of rubbish to you. And if you're a volunteer and they're talking to you and all you're doing is being a really good face and being Christ-like and loving towards them, like that is amazing. If someone comes in absolutely distraught about something awful that's just happened at the union or one of the clubs, and you're there to be a comfort to them, that's amazing. If someone comes in asking about faith, there's people there to answer any questions. So it is amazing. And I've got so many amazing and weird and awesome stories from countless nights spent at Toasty Bar. But yeah, any other questions you have about that? It probably is.
Brilliant. Yeah, if anyone's got any questions specifically relating to that, do pop them in. But it's great to know there's stuff like that goes on at universities that you can get involved with, which almost is kind of good opportunities on a plate, isn't it? Go in, maybe the personal evangelism we're doing in our classes or at our teams or whatever the case is. So that's brilliant. Finally, then, for you guys, just thinking about, obviously this is nearly an impossible question, but obviously for those starting university this year, it's a bit of a unique situation in that they're trying to start university at a time where everything's kind of a bit stripped back with COVID. So maybe they're thinking about, likes of you, Peter, where you're going overseas and they're trying to join a church, but maybe churches aren't fully meeting and, maybe classes are online. Any tips you would give as people who are at uni now for how they could start uni well, even in the midst of COVID? Rebecca, have you got any thoughts on that?
Yeah, so obviously there's so many unique challenges with coronavirus or whatever. But I would say you really need to like force yourself to engage with a screen. So a lot of things are going to be online. They're going to be on Zoom to begin with. But I would really encourage people to do that because, it isn't normal and it's not ideal. Because at the end of the day, we were created to be relational individuals. But I would really encourage people to do that because it's only for a short time, and it's important to take time to start building up those relationships to begin with. And at the end of the day, it comes from you. Like, you have to put in the effort. And I think doing the Zooms or doing whatever's going is really important to kind of make your mark to begin with. It's kind of annoying and it's not ideal, but it's the best of a bad situation. And I think also the advice I would give is, like, as Christians, like, it's easy to go in being fearful, and particularly this year because you don't know how halls are going to look. You don't know how even like your sports teams and all is going to look. But in 2 Timothy 1:7, it says, "For God has not given us the spirit of fear, but of love, power, and self-discipline." So it's really important that we tap into our faith and take everything to God, regardless of how the beginning stages look like. So yeah.
Brilliant. That's really helpful. Peter, what would your reflections be in thinking about starting uni this year? What advice would you give?
I think this one probably applies more to people that are going to halls and leaving Northern Ireland, but like you guys are gonna be stuck in your halls with your hall mates. I think most of them are working and like no one from outside the halls can get in. And a lot of tutorial groups will be happening inside halls. So you have like a golden opportunity there to build really strong relationships with non-Christians. You'll be spending night and day with these folks. And yeah, I'm quite jealous of that, to be honest. Like that, you're gonna have so much fun, I think, spending time with all those guys. So really capitalize on that, get some great friendships there, and yeah, enjoy that. And for churches as well, don't waste time in like making that, like letting that be an airy process. Keep your like mind open to what church you might want to go to. I remember like I went to St Andrews with like a certain church in mind. I was like, I'm going to go to that one. I'll go to it on the first Sunday. I know I'll love it, and then I'll stay at it. But that wasn't the case. And I think if you're looking for a church this September, just like, yeah, really try all the churches out that you think would be a good fit. And I think there's like a quote, I don't know, for some American president, history was never my strong point. But you know the one where he goes like, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. If you like replace the country with church in that statement, I think that really is really helpful for choosing churches. So like when you go to church, think how can you serve there and help there more than how can they serve you. I think that's a really healthy way to be going about choosing churches. And get a Tesco Club card. That will save you many pounds.
Many pounds. Great, that's so helpful, you guys. Thanks so much. Yeah, I love that. They're thinking about the opportunities that actually coronavirus is bringing to, in maybe ways it might feel like it limits some opportunities, but it'll create other opportunities. Maybe especially if you're locked down with someone. I'm going to keep you guys in the stream if that's okay. We only have 5-10 minutes left, so if anyone, just in case anyone has any questions, and I'm going to add in our hosts again. So let's see. It's a full house now. So we do have a few more books to give away. So Caleb is one winner. There's still a chance for a few more books, a few more winners. So if you do have, if you would like to win a book, stay tuned. Okay, Jack, I'm going to ask you to do something random. Okay, this is the opportunity to win the next book. Again, just to remind people what the books are. We've got Don't Waste Your Life by John Piper. We've got Spiritual Health Check. We've got Being a Servant by Warren Wiersbe. And we've got Timothy Keller's The Songs of Jesus devotional book. So, Jack, what I want you to do is I would love you to gargle a song. And
Yes.
anyone watching has to guess what the song is. First person to guess the song gets the book of their choice. Matthew Keys might even get the Piper book if he gets it. So, Jack, we're ready for you.
I'm trying to think of it. Right, okay. I just took it. I just swallowed that. Hold on. Let me think.
That's not how you do it, Jack.
Let me practice. Can you hear that?
Yeah, we can hear it.
Yeah.
Wasn't exactly simple, but I could hear it.
Thank you very much, Matthew.
Music shouldn't, pressure's on.
That's difficult. I'm choking. Hold on.
Very well done, Jack. That was beautiful.
Yeah, I was choking the entire way. That's difficult now.
Right, Jack, that's easy. If someone doesn't get that, I'll be very disappointed. It was an absolute masterpiece from you.
Thank you very much.
Matthew Keith says, I too long out of university. Maybe he wants to go back. We have our winner, and it's Jen. I'm not sure how you- Don't say how- Jen, you are our winner. Please post in what you would like your prize to be. We've got Matthew Watson's also got it right, but he's too late. Kyle again. Kyle, that's 2 in a row. That's 2 in a row. You've got the right answer, but just a little bit late. I do think our winner is Jen. She was the first one in. So Jen, congratulations. Post in, Jen, what book you would like to take. And then send us a little message with your address, and we will get it to you. Sharon, I believe you have accumulated some props from key moments from university.
I have. So as I was sitting here, I was looking around my desk and discovered that I still have quite a few of the really random objects that I picked up. They're mostly people have given me these things, which I think is more of a reflection on me than them. The first one, let's see, what do we have here? The first one is this fun llama card. It doesn't actually have anything written on it. Like, it's a postcard. It was just for the design. And it says fa la 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 llama. So that was a great find. The second one, sticking with the llama theme, is some No Problema bunting.
No
which is still
problem.
in the packet. And then I also have this, what I'm currently drinking my tea out of, is a llama mug. No problema. So I think that this is real evidence that before llamas were cool, I was totally into them. Because now everybody seems to have some llama themed things, whereas I was the original. Also with pineapples, I had many pineapple themed things, and then they got cool, so I think I'm the trendsetter.
I don't really remember pineapples ever getting cool.
A Cheetah Girls 2 CD, which I actually think I accidentally stole from Leah Shaw, so I better return that at some stage. I have not one, but 2 harmonicas. Both of these were given to me. I have no idea why.
Play them
Those were
both at the
Christmas
same time.
presents. This one I would say is much better quality than this one. I think they were Secret Santa presents. So some quality tunes happening there. This is one of my favorite ones. This is a unicorn tape dispenser that dispenses sparkly tape that was given in my final year by one of my housemates. So that was a really great present. Like, look at that. It's blue and sparkly, and it's a unicorn, and it dispenses tape. And last but definitely not least, I was given a full-on hurricane lamp out of the
What?
blue.
Wow.
Wait, are they actually called hurricane lamps?
Yeah, they are.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's
Learn
and
something
it's
new
like
today.
it's real. Like, it works. You can put paraffin in it, and it can light up your life. So this is a great addition to all student houses. Don't have to pay for any electricity then.
Love it.
So there you go.
Top props from Sharon. Okay. Here's how you win the next prize. You win the next prize by anyone who can list me 3 of the items that Sharon just has shown us. Okay. First person to successfully name 3 also wins a book. And while we're doing that, we're going to finish in 5 minutes, but I'm going to hit you all with some quick fire questions. Okay. So I want to get your answer to these quick fire questions. Jen has picked the book. She has went for the Piper book. So the Piper book is now out of action. So that's the college handbook and the Piper book are gone. Quick fire questions. Any of you can answer these. They're a mixture of practical questions and spiritual questions. Here's the first one. What easy meals can I cook at university? Easy meals.
Pasta.
Any suggestions? Peter, in with the pasta?
Spaghetti bolognese.
Spaghetti bolognese.
Lots of rice dishes with curry or tikka masala, anything. But don't overcook your rice. I've made rice pudding far too much when I've
Ooh.
overcooked rice.
Get a rice cooker.
Ooh, a rice
Oh,
cooker.
great sight.
Such a good
I've never
investment.
owned a rice cooker. Always intrigued me, rice cookers.
Yeah, you can get wee plastic ones for your microwave. It costs like a £5. Best purchase.
Ethan, any top tips?
Pesto pasta with
Pesto
bacon.
pasta.
And peas.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's the
Beautiful.
job, and it's easy.
Any good place? Any good cookbooks that you stumble across, or YouTube channels?
BBC Good Food. Get the app for BBC Good Food. It will change your life.
BBC
Jamie
Good.
Oliver, 5 ingredients.
Ooh,
Like it.
that's a shout.
Okay, question number 2. What should I be looking for in joining a church? What sort of church should I look for? What sort of thing should I look for in a church?
One that has a good range of age groups. So you don't want. Sometimes there can be this culture, especially in Northern Ireland, that all of the young people go to a church, and the average age is like 23. Whereas you should be looking for a church that's got a good range of age groups, because generally, if a church has a really average age of really young, it means that they're not catering for your kind of older generations, and you need that wisdom and that guidance from your older generation and people in the church to help you and guide you. So don't be tempted to just go to the really cool and hip church that all the young people go to. Try and find one that's got a good range of people, because and good Bible teaching and good community.
That's a great tip. Any other tips to add to the mix?
Don't just go with your friends. Go. Ooh.
We all went at once.
Oh,
Go.
let's go for it.
Did you say
Lizzie?
for me, Matt?
Yeah.
So mine was more of a tip for finding a church in this season as well. I'd say just persevere. It might be hard at the start, and churches might not know when they're starting back and everything, but definitely just persevere in that. If you see different churches, definitely contact them. You'll see if they're meeting in person again, but also contact them even via Facebook page or anything. See if you can get involved in a small group so that you can still have that church community over this time, especially as you start university. Having that church community is still so important, as you do face all the ups and downs that this year will bring.
Brilliant. Peter?
I was just going to say, don't go where your friends go just because your friends are going there. That's a mistake, and after a few months, you'll regret it. Most of the time. At least that's what I've seen happening.
Cool. Great, helpful tips. We've got our winner of our last book.
I would say
Oh, sorry, Rebecca, go for it.
at the start, go around a few churches to try and see, like, just don't go to church and just stick to it because it's comfortable.
Brilliant.
Have a
That's helpful.
have a wide range.
That's helpful. So check out a few churches in the area. That's great. Olivia Mallon is our winner for our last book. Once again, Kyle has come in with the right answer, but he's just too late. Kyle, you might just need to go to some typing lessons. Kyle, do you know what? For a 10 out of 10 effort, I think we should give Kyle a book as well. So 2 books. Olivia, I feel like we should give you the first choice. So what we've got left is Songs of Jesus by Tim Keller, Warren Wiersbe and Being a Servant of God, and Spiritual Health Check by Kyle Lafferton. So Olivia, do you want to tell us what one you'd like? And then Kyle, you go as well. And let's have 2 more questions and then we're done. Okay, here's the next one. How do I stay warm in my student house without paying for the heating? Top
Spoon.
tips, staying warm.
Have a hot water bottle.
Hot water bottle. A lantern from Sharon.
Hair dryers.
Hair dryers.
Here, I've actually done that before. Where I just like put it on beneath the duvet about 5 minutes before going to bed. Mine are fire hazard, but like
I do it every day. It's brilliant.
Top tips. Top tips. Jack, any
Lots of
top
blankets.
Lots of blankets. Electric blankets, anyone?
Oh yes,
Every day.
always.
Every day. Jack, any top tips for us?
I quite like going to other people's houses and using their heat, and then go back to mine just to go to sleep. Stay in other people's houses as long as possible. Use their resources and heat, and then only go back to yours and sleep.
Find rich friends, then? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Rich student friends.
Invest in
Great.
a really good dressing gown and slippers.
No.
Excellent. Olivia has chosen Tim Keller. Tim Keller's not out of the game. So, Kyle, it's down to you. You've got the last book. You can either have Warren Wiersbe, Being a Servant of God, or Kyle Lafferton, Spiritual Health Check. Let us know. We know you're slow at typing, Kyle, so we'll wait for 5 minutes so you can let us know. Last question for you all. What is the best thing about being a student at university? The best thing.
This is so cliche, but I just think the student discount. I have never not appreciated having student discount so much as when I lost it. I was like, no. I sometimes still use my sister's too because it's that good. So yeah, just use the student discount like crazy.
Student discount. What's that? Is it Student Days? Is that the website? What's it called?
Uni Days.
Uni Days.
Uni Days.
Check out Uni Days. Kyle had chosen Being a Servant of God. Sharon, top.
The freedom of time. Never in your life will you have as much time as you do as a student. You may think you're busy. You're not. Wait till you start working. Then you have no time. Because most of the things that you do as a student that take up your time are by choice. So choose wisely and enjoy the fact that you get a 5-month summer, enjoy that you get a month off at Christmas, and enjoy that your day usually starts at 11 and ends at 2.
Excellent. So we've got time, we've got student discount. Any other best things about being a student?
Student loan's pretty good.
Student loan.
Student loan and being 30 seconds from Boojum. That's pretty good.
Student loan's good if you're in Belfast and it covers everything.
Oh,
Mm,
Peter, what's the best thing about being a student in Scotland?
That's a good question. Everyone thinks your accent's cool. Don't get that in Belfast.
You do if you're from Ballymena.
And you
Rebecca?
do if you're from
The
Ballymena. I don't know. I think the best thing about being at uni is just the lack of responsibility and the fact that there's no rush to be responsible about really anything apart from your grades and your faith.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you guys so much for answering those pernickety questions. I'm going to hand over to Lizzie just for the last minute or two. As you heard earlier, Lizzie works for CUI, and if you're in Belfast this year, she will be a support to you. So Lizzie, do you want to tell us a little bit about CUI and how maybe people can get plugged in and what CUI do and a little bit about that?
Wonderful. So I won't take up too much of your time. But again, like I said at the start, I work for an organisation called Christian Unions Ireland. And what we seek to do is equip you guys when you're at university to share Jesus' name on campus. So like I said, I work with the University of Stranmillis, Jordanstown and UUB. But also what we're doing this year for you guys is that we're having a freshers track, which is going to be 3 sessions starting on Friday, the 20th of August. Where you'll be able to also win some more books. Maybe not as cool as Matt's, but you'll be able to definitely win some more books, but also learn some things about what university is going to be like. And we're going to be focusing on identity, who our identity's in, that it's not on all these Zoom calls you're going to be at university at this time, that it's in Christ. What university culture will look like, how we engage with that well, even at a time like COVID, and also mission, what it looks like to share Jesus' name across campus at this time too. So we're going to be looking at those 3 things, but we're also wanting to link you guys up to your local Christian union. So if you go to our website at cui.ie, you'll see this page, especially for you guys. If you click on that, you can sign up, you put up your email address and your phone number, and we'll link you up to your local Christian union. So if you're going to a university anywhere across Ireland, we'll be able to link you up to those guys. They'll be able to tell you about what's happening, what kind of freshers events they're having, whether they're online or in person, and a little bit about when and where they'll be meeting this year. So make sure you check out the CUI website, where you'll be able to find out more about our freshers track, but also link up to your local Christian Union Society. And it's a wonderful way, Christian Union Societies are a wonderful way to be thinking about how we can share Jesus on campus, but also reminded of the beautiful gospel that we all believe in. Sorry, I spoke for far too long, but thank you for that. And I'm hopefully looking forward to meeting a few of you guys this year.
Excellent. Thank you, Lizzie. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Rebecca, Jack, Lizzie, Sharon. Appreciate your time. And thank you all for watching this. Hope you find it helpful. It will still be on Facebook and YouTube later on. So if you want to recap everything that's been said or recommend it to someone else who you might find it helpful, please get them to check that out. Thanks so much. See you guys soon.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.